You ever notice how quiet some streets get just before something breaks wide open? That was Poplar Creek Drive that afternoon. Quiet. Too quiet. I had just finished up a graveside eulogy at the Veterans Cemetery, one of those ceremonies that sticks to your ribs more than it should. I was still in uniform, still carrying that folding chair my daughter forgot at last Sunday's cookout. Nothing dramatic, just a dad trying to keep a promise. I figured I'd swing by her place, drop it off, maybe sit a while. But honestly, I wasn't sure I had it in me to stay for dinner. As I turned onto Dogwood Lane, I caught the flash of a cruiser in my rearview. No sirens, no lights, just that slow, creeping follow that ain't about patrolling, it's about waiting. I kept it cool. Plates clean. Speed dead on 27 in a 30. Still, I felt that knot tighten in my neck, like I'd just stepped into something I couldn't see but sure could feel. I pulled over smooth, turned off the engine, and placed my military ID right there on my leg. Rolled the window down halfway, hands back on the wheel, visible, calm, careful. I didn't flinch. I've done this before. Overseas, in hostile zones, with folks who didn't speak my language but still respected my presence. Funny how sometimes, right here at home, you get less grace. The officer walked up slow, like he owned the pavement. He was white, maybe early 40s, stocky, eyes scanning me like I was inventory. License and registration, he said without looking at my ID. Sir, my military ID is right here. License is in the glove box if you'd like me to. He cut me off. Did I ask for your resume? That hit different. Not loud, but sharp, like a jab meant to remind me where he thought I stood. I kept it steady. No, sir. Just trying to be respectful. He leaned in, eyes on my collar. Fancy jacket for someone driving a rust bucket. You sure that uniform's real? Yes, sir. Been wearing it half my life. He asked if I lived around here. I said I was headed to my daughter's place 2 blocks over. He nodded, not like he believed me, more like he was checking off a box. He circled to the back of the truck, and that's when I felt it shift. Not just the air, but the whole tone of the moment. My heart wasn't racing yet, but I knew we'd just crossed a line. You learn in combat how to feel that shift. When he came back around, his hand was near his holster. Still calm, but that calm that comes before the storm. You didn't answer my question, he said, voice tight. I did, sir. I said my daughter lives here. I'm just dropping off a chair. Military, huh? He asked again, staring at my jacket. 22 years. U.S. Army. He scoffed, called it new looking, then sniffed like the smell of service offended him. You always wear that when you're cruising rich neighborhoods. I said, I wear it to honor the dead. Not for show. He didn't like that. I could see the way his jaw twitched, the way his thumb grazed that holster again. Well, you look like you belong in Arlington. But this ain't Arlington. There it was. The line. The message. You don't belong here. Not like this. Not in uniform. Not in dignity. He told me not to move. Said he'd be running my name. I said go ahead. My hands never left the wheel. But I watched that side mirror, and something about the way he lingered made it clear wasn't running a name. He was waiting. For something. Maybe a twitch. Maybe a word. Then came the bark. Step out of the vehicle. I didn't argue. I asked, Sir, can I ask the reason for this stop? You don't get to ask questions. I stepped out slow, hands visible. The sun caught my insignia and lit it up like fire. I stood straight, not defiant, just trained. Back stiff. Eyes level. Breath controlled. That's when he drew the weapon. Just like that. Arm extended, barrel aimed straight at my chest. The air turned thick. Kids across the street froze on scooters. Curtains shifted. I saw a woman with her phone pressed to the glass. Witnesses. And I stood still. Because stillness, in that moment, was the only armor I had. Then I asked him quietly, but clear, what threat do you see in me? He didn't answer, just tightened his grip. And I said it again, what threat do you see? He said nothing, and then pulled the trigger. The pain hit before the sound. Left shoulder, sharp and hot, like metal through muscle. I staggered, caught myself, didn't fall. Just pressed against the truck, bleeding, but upright. Silent. Phones lifted. From porches. From cars. That street became a stage. Call an ambulance, I told him. Do your job. He just stood there. I said it again, louder this time. From across the street, a woman's voice rang out. We already called. I saw everything. Sirens grew louder. The neighborhood, once quiet, now buzzed. And that officer wasn't in charge anymore. Not of me. Not of the moment. Not of the truth. They treated me in the ambulance. Got me to the hospital. Press swarmed. News anchors read my name like it was breaking news instead of a life nearly broken. But what no one knew not yet was that this wasn't just a traffic stop gone wrong. 3 months before, I filed a report. A whistleblower memo about racial bias in interagency patrol assignments. Logged it by the book. Charts. Data. Proof. And it went nowhere. Buried. Until now. Because while I bled on that street, a copy of that file sat locked in a glove compartment gone. Disappeared. Erased. Or so they thought. 2 nights later, I get a visit. Civilian suit. Tight smile. Hands me a stainless steel military thermos. Inside, a USB drive. My missing data. Backup. Full archive. From a recruit I once shielded years back. He remembered. Saved it. Left it for me. That changed everything. Now I had names. Transfers. Patterns. A list of officers protected by performance reviews scrubbed clean. Including Keller, the one who shot me. Turns out his file flagged him years ago. Failed psych eval. Internal complaints. Still got transferred. Quietly. Protected. I was on a watch list too. Not for threats, but for visibility. They watched me. Because I noticed too much. And then came the threats. A call to my wife. Tell your husband not to testify or your daughter's next. That's when I knew. They weren't scared of me. They were scared of what I represented. But I testified. In court. In uniform. Told them exactly what happened. Laid out the truth without raising my voice. I didn't need to. The courtroom held its breath. Defense tried to rattle me. Asked if my presence could be misread as defiance. I told them, if dignity feels like defiance to you, that's not a me problem. Silence. Outside, they called me hero. Some called me dangerous. Some called it just one cop's mistake. But I knew better. It wasn't about one cop. It was about the orchard, not the apple. They didn't build that silence. They inherited it. I just chose not to obey it. I visited my father's grave a few weeks after the verdict. Left a white carnation. Told him, I didn't flinch. I didn't lie. And I didn't let them bury it. And maybe, just maybe, someone saw that. Maybe someone will carry it forward. So if you're still watching, let me ask you something. When the system silences those who stand still, what does that say about who it serves? Drop a comment. Tell me what justice looks like to you. Not the textbook, kinda live kind. And if you've ever been made to feel like you didn't belong just for showing up with pride, you're not alone. Share this story. Pass it on. Because memory has teeth. And it always comes back.